What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday to y'all. Just another day coding and recording videos about coding tutorials and all that fun stuff. How we doing, YouTube and Facebook? What's going on, TikTok? My super TikTok fans. I'm Jason, DevSlopes, full stack developer, coach, mentor, teaching people how to code. It's a lot of fun. So we're gonna, talk about freelancing, full-time jobs, code tech, all that stuff. So we're gonna let some people hop on here, and we'll get rocking and rolling. Welcome, Expert Pizza. What's going on? Welcome, Ranch. Sup, bro? How's everybody doing? Who's been coding this week? Y'all been coding? Getting in that keyboard time? Got to get in that keyboard time if you want to learn how to code every single day. Welcome, Param, Sunny. What's going on? Man, that username is way too long. I can't even pronounce that. What's going on, Fist141? Welcome. Okay, cool. Patrick Starr has been coding, getting some coding in. So, Patrick, what kind of stack are you working with? Let us know. I'd be very interested to know. What's going on? A sudden epiphany. Oh, a sudden epiphany. I get it. What's going on? Stephen Mandea, welcome. Stoked to have everybody here. All right, we're just going to talk about code, tech, freelance, jobs, all that stuff. If you are a beginner developer, you're wondering where to start, let's dive into those questions as well. I'd be happy to give you some questions. Patrick is just writing some unit tests. That's awesome. Are you using Mocha, Chai? What's some other ones? Let's see. There's Mocha, Chai. There's Enzyme. I can't think of those. I remember writing loads of unit tests when I was a full stack engineer over at Dell. I remember one of the things that I was tasked with, we were building this app in React, and I spent 1 week writing like over 150 unit tests. It was insane. It was just nuts. Let's see. Welcome, Christopher. Okay, so you're using IntelliJ. Awesome. I've never done unit tests with that before, but good on you. Welcome, Charles. How's it going, YouTube? Who do we have here on YouTube? Let's see. The Expert Pizza just learned the basics of HTML. That's awesome. For web development, that is the very first step that you take, and then you dive into CSS, and then it's just kind of uphill from there. You dive into JavaScript, choose a front-end framework like React or Vue or something, and then you keep expanding, and you'll go full stack. Let's see, Ranch. I just learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. What should I learn now? Ranch, the question that I would ask you is, how proficient are you with JavaScript right now? So, I guess there's kind of two paths that you could go here. So if you've learned the basics of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, I would start writing some interactive applications, like a website that maybe has a carousel on it, and you can swipe through the carousel. Maybe a form, some conditional UI where a user, clicks a button, something shows and then hides, things like that. So I would start learning how to combine JavaScript with your HTML, get the two working together, and build some type of an interactive application. You could even go as far as to like building a game, like a tic-tac-toe game, Battleship, things like that. That's going to help you take all that logic that you've learned from JavaScript and then tie that into a user experience. All right. And then after that, you can dive into a front-end technology. I would choose React or Vue. And yeah, that's what I would do. So start building projects that can think. All right. Taz Naluis asks, hey, should I learn Swift UI or UI Kit? Also, is iOS development good for freelancing? That's a great question. So Taz, I've done iOS development. It's been a while since I've done some iOS development. I do web development primarily every day. That's what I do professionally. But Swift UI, I guess if you're doing freelance work, go with Swift UI because it's much easier to do. Like Swift UI is absolutely amazing. And now professionally, like in the job market, the trend is still growing. There's not a lot of companies, maybe more of startups that are using Swift UI, but it hasn't fully been adopted yet into the professional world there. So let's see. And also, is it good for freelancing? It's definitely more of a niche market. So a lot of people are doing web development and doing platforms or cross-platform apps. That way everything's in one code base. But what you should do is, I don't know where you're located, but you should get on like Upwork or something, and then just kind of do a search for like web and iOS and kind of see what's out there. All right, TikTok, I'm gonna dive into answering some of your questions here in just a moment. So stick around and I'd be happy to get to those questions. Let's see, The Expert Pizza. I made my first website. Congratulations. That's awesome. Welcome, EC Gaming. Anime God, what should I learn for Android development? You should dive into Kotlin. All right, so Java was like the programming language that's been used for a while, but the entire Android community, everybody is pushing Kotlin. And the amazing thing about Kotlin is it's backwards compatible. So if there is a legacy app that's in Android, I mean Java, if there's a legacy app in Java, you can immediately inject it with Kotlin and just start writing Kotlin code. And the syntax is a lot nicer. You'll write 40% less code. It's faster. So stick with Kotlin. That's what the Android community is pushing. Param Sani, I am done with HTML now, working on CSS, want to become a front-end developer after then full stack. Perfect. That's the exact roadmap. HTML, CSS to JavaScript, learn a front-end tech like React or Vue, and then you'll move into full stack. All right, I'm going to move into some questions here on TikTok. All right, what's going on TikTok? Let's see. Patrick says that IntelliJ is the best. That's awesome. I'm going to have to, give that a go there. I've never done the unit test in IntelliJ. So Mr. Swagger is a React developer. That's awesome. That's what I do. Huge fan of React. It wasn't until I hit React that I fell absolutely in love with web development. So what is the hardest part of React in your opinion? I would say when and how to use hooks effectively. So one of the major problems that we ran into at Dell, so I was a full stack engineer at Dell for several years. We were building a CMS tool in React. And one of the issues that we kept running into is we were using the use effect hook, which, listens for a state change happening. The problem that we were running into is use effects are also good for making your data calls. But some of the developers, since we're all working in different areas, we're building all these different components, and we had our use effect listening for the same state change. So we had all these child components inside of the parent component, and we had a few of these child components listening for the same state change, and it would cause an incredible amount of re-renders, like, the ripple effect. You drop a few stones in water and you're getting all these ripple effects happening. And so it was making multiple data calls, like 6 to 12 data calls because of the re-render. The use effect kept getting called, kept making the data calls. And so you've really got to plan out the architecture of your React application so you don't have components just re-rendering way too much. Now you can use hooks like the use memo or memo to make components kind of remember their state a little bit better. But effectively using hooks, I would say, is the hardest thing. It's not hard to understand what they do and to learn the concepts, but architecting your project correctly so you're not triggering loads of re-renders can be a challenge. Let's see, when I'm going to hear back from Nathan, made an appointment and never heard anything. I emailed him and texted him, but heard nothing back. So, hey, go ahead and send me an email, okay? I'm jason@devslopes.com. Send me an email with your information, and I'll make sure that I get it to Nathan. Okay. I know that we're like way stacked and like way backed up on applications. Like so many people are applying to the Academy, but shoot me an email, jason@devslopes.com, and I'll make sure that your appointment is expedited. All right. Let's do this. Let's do some more questions here in YouTube. Let's see, what do we have? All right, so a sudden epiphany asks, do you have any suggestions for better understanding of JavaScript, specifically loops and nested loops? Ooh, nested loops is, kind of tricky. Those can get a little bit trickier for sure. So one of the things that I would do to understand JavaScript better, now it's one thing to understand the basics, but, script and the tools that are available to you to solve different challenges and to come up with solutions. I would do something like Code Wars or Hacker Ranks. There's also Project Euler, and those are going to help you take your JavaScript skills and think more so out of the box. Now, the other cool thing is DevSlopes, we actually have the 30-day code challenge. So if you go to 30daycodechallenge.com, you can sign up for the JavaScript code challenge. I'm not sure when the next one is. It might be in a week or so. But sign up for the code challenge, and that'll really push your JavaScript skills. We have like some of the tutorials, so you'll have a bit of a refresher. And then we just give you a challenge every single day. Really great way to polish up those JavaScript skills. All right, what else do we have here? Let's see, the expert pizza. Could you talk about cybersecurity, and is it worth it to get a bachelor's degree of cybersecurity 4 years? All right, two parts of that. I don't know a lot about. I know if it's your first, stab at programming, it definitely has a much steeper learning curve. I do not know what the curriculum is in college, if it's worth it or not, but here's what I do know about college and programming. All right, I'm just going to talk from a general computer science degree. I've got, immediate family, like an older brother, and I've got very close friends who have done the computer science. It's loads of theory. They do not teach it in a way for you to learn programming effectively. They do not teach you the skills to be successful in the industry. Like for an example, using the terminal, Git, version control, NPM packages, like these are very, 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 very basic skills that you need to be successful in a programming job or even freelancing. They don't cover this in college. All right, I'm a self-taught developer myself. I did the self-taught road, loads of hands-on experience. And then over time, I gained that depth that a computer science degree will do for you. All right, but from personal family and friends that have gone to college, computer science degree, they've all said it's a complete waste of time. All right, waste of time, waste of money. $80,000 in debt when they're learning more from YouTube, getting more hands-on experience. But as far as the cybersecurity part of that, I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. Imau Hassan Rana, should I learn the Golang? Can you help me? Let's see, can help me get a job. So the Golang is gaining some traction. I do know that. I'm not sure of the job opportunities with that. I haven't looked into it personally. I have no idea. I don't want to give you any misdirection there. I'd have to Google it, right? That's what we do as developers. We Google things. So I would have to Google that to give you a good answer. Kakito, I guess it's good to start with front end after and then start the back end and those stuff. Yeah, absolutely. So the cool thing, like for an example, if you're doing web development and you want to, it's very easy to transition into a full stack developer because you can just start using backend technologies like Node, and that allows you to write JavaScript on the server. And then, you bundle that in with Express and MongoDB for the database, and you can keep everything in JavaScript. So you don't have to go and learn some new programming language like, PHP, Python, something else for the backend. Just keep it in one code base and do it all in JavaScript. Pretty awesome. Goblin John, No, there's no Instagram today. So I'm streaming with Restream, and I can do YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn all at the same time. And then I only have one phone, and I'm streaming on TikTok right now, and I don't have a second phone to do Instagram. So we'll be doing Instagram probably again in, I would say, at least 2 weeks. Yeah, at least 2 weeks. Anonymous asks me, hello, sir. How are you today? I'm doing fantastic. No complaints. No complaints. Let's see. Kakito, I guess Ranch started with front end, and after you are done with the front end, start back. Yeah, absolutely. What's up, Samuel Kelly? Good evening to you. All right, TikTok. I'm going to jump over here to some of your questions. What do we have happening here? Let's see. What is your advice for a beginner with 0 skills? So Sunday John, that's a great question. Okay, I get this question a lot. So I'm a self-taught developer. I did the self-taught route. Doing it on your own sucks, that's for sure. But what you need to do is I would check out a few free YouTube tutorials. Okay, you could start with codeacademy.com, and that's going to give you a really basic introduction to code. And that way you can test it for free to see if you even like it. All right. And then, you can stick with some of the tutorials, but you've got to get out of tutorials fairly quickly. You don't want to spend too much time in them. All right. You've got to start building projects once you start learning the basics, because that's going to train your brain to start thinking problematic. Like what I mean is solving problems, right? You've got to train your brain to think of solutions and learn how to solve problems. All right. Tutorials, you don't learn any of that, right? You're just following along with somebody. All right. And the whole thing with programming, it's all about problem solving. One recommendation, if you want to try this, is go to devslopes.com/apply. Okay. I'm a full stack engineer at DevSlopes. I'm a mentor and a coach, and I help students every single day learn how to code. All right. So we have a very structured guided learning path. All right. And then you'll work with me. You can ask me questions anytime. There's assignments, and you'll turn in your assignments, and I will personally review your code. All right. That way I'll let you know, like, hey, this is good practice. You're on track with things, or, hey, I would avoid doing things like this. It could lead to bugs. It's not the best practice, things like that, which is really cool because as a beginner, sometimes you're just kind of learning, right? And you're just kind of free for all in it. All right. But you don't know if what you're learning is good practices or not. All right. So I would be honored and happy to give you that guidance. And we have weekly live meetups every single week where we talk code, freelance, tech jobs. You can ask questions. And so it's the fast track to learning how to code. And then once you've established those skills, I will also personally work with you, and we'll do all the career coaching. All right. I will show you how to set up your resume, your LinkedIn, how to negotiate your salaries. I will help you through the interview process to getting a job or freelance work. All right. I will work with you until you get paid, is what I'm saying. All right. We don't just teach people how to code. The whole purpose is to get you paid. And so whether you want to do freelance work or get a job, I'll work with you personally until that happens. All right. And there's no time limit on it. It's lifetime access. Go to devslopes.com/apply. Let's see, cyberware. As a self-taught programmer, aren't there too many filters for degrees for computer companies? You know what? The whole industry has changed. Like at the end of the day, all a company wants is somebody who can code, somebody who can deliver results. So for an example, I was a full stack engineer at Dell Computers. I worked there for several years. Okay. On the job requirements, it said 7 years of JavaScript, 3 years of React, and a computer science degree. I had 3 years of JavaScript, okay, half than what they were requiring, 1 year of React, and no computer science degree. All right, but I did the interview process. I got through the tech interview, the coding challenges. They checked out my code. They liked it. They liked my personality. They thought I'd, mesh well with the team, and they hired me. All right, so don't worry about those computer science degrees and stuff, because companies just want somebody who can code. And so if you can get through the tech interviews and all that stuff, then that's fantastic. And don't worry about looking for a junior position if you're a beginner. All right, just apply for jobs. And if the company says, you know what, you're not seasoned enough, that's okay. Just keep applying for jobs. Like if I would have thought like I'm only going to get like a mid-level developer job, I would have never been able to, work at Dell. At the time that I applied for Dell, I was not a senior developer. I did not have as much experience as they wanted, but I learned all that stuff on the job, and I got, way into the back-end development of things. And so I entered Dell as a front-end developer, and I left Dell as a full-stack engineer. So that's my story with Dell. It was so much fun working there. I really enjoyed it. But I came over to DevSlopes because, being a self-taught developer myself, I know how much it sucks trying to learn to code on your own. And I find a lot of joy in helping students learn how to code and then how to get a job. So I've been through it. I know the pain and I know the struggle. And if I can get people on the fast track to learning how to code and, just ignore all the bull crap that you don't need to deal with yet, that's what I want to do. All right. Somebody asked, I'm going to take one more question from TikTok and then YouTube. I'm going to dive into some questions here. So just hang tight. Do you think C# is a good language for mobile applications? I mean, it can be. I think it's great if you're doing games. I think there's other programming languages that might be a little bit easier than C#, but it's definitely not a bad programming language for mobile applications. Like, I guess you also have to ask yourself, what kind of mobile apps are you doing? Like utility apps? Are you building games? Like what kind of mobile apps are you doing? Like, do you want to go native? Do you want to do iOS apps specifically? Do you want to do Android? Do you want to use web technologies and do cross-platform like React Native or Flutter? So you've got a bunch of different options, and there's other options I think that are easier than C#. But by all means, it's not a bad language to choose if that's what you want to roll with. All right, let's, what do we have going on here? YouTube. Let's see, Anthony asks, when should someone start going through LeetCode? Is it only necessary to go through LeetCode when applying to top companies? I wouldn't say it's necessary. Like, I mean, I would consider Dell Computers a top company, and I'm a self-taught developer. I didn't go through LeetCode or anything, and I was able to be employed with them. I don't have a lot of experience in that stuff, so I'm not going to, take what I say about that with a grain of salt. But, yeah. Samuel Kelly, could you please give me a little tip on how the color coding are picked on YouTube? You can realize everyone on YouTube has a color background. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Tip on how the color coding are picked on YouTube. Are you talking about the theme? Like the color palette? I don't know. Or maybe I'm totally missing the question and it's going over my head. Ranch asks, when I start learning backend, how I choose a stack. So that's a good question, determining what stack you should choose as the backend. So my recommendation is, if you're doing web development, the smoothest, fastest transition into backend is to learn Node, because everything's in JavaScript still. You don't have to go learn a brand. Everything's in the same code base, and then pair that up with Express and Mongo for the database, and you're set. And then John Cena, you kind of asked the same question, MERN or PHP and MySQL. I would do the MERN stack because, again, you're already working with JavaScript and React. Just stick with Node. Keep everything in JavaScript. So when I was at Dell, we had our backend was all done in Mongo. All right, so we use Express, Mongo, and Node for the backend. We were doing the MERN stack. All right, and it was completely scalable for the project that we were doing. So, and it was much easier to work with for sure. Now, if you want, let me just follow up with that. If you want to do PHP or MySQL, there's nothing wrong with that, but it is going to be so much easier to just doing the MERN stack. So much easier. Let's see, life okay, where is Mark? So Mark has, he's recently moved and he's getting his new office set up and everything. So I have the pleasure of doing these live streams. And I too will be moving here in a little bit. I think in 8 days. I'm so stoked about it. So stoked. Bought a piece of land out in the country. So I'm just going to be one of those coders. I'm going to chill with farm animals. I'm just going to code. No, I probably won't be chilling with farm animals, but it'll be a lot of peace and quiet. It'll be nice. Revolution of the revolution. I liked your whiteboard. Thank you. So where's my finger here? Right there. This is the curriculum outline for the backend section of our Web Academy for DevSlopes. So that's going to be all the curriculum for the backend. And then where is it? This right there is just some whiteboarding I was doing. I was building a Slack clone app. And it's always nice to whiteboard it out so I know where my different components are, how to use my React router, what components need to consume certain data from other components. And so, yeah, whiteboarding is awesome. Kind of help get your thoughts outside your brain, visually in front of you. The Expert Pizza asks, could you please make a video about cybersecurity? I couldn't find much info and easily explained on YouTube. I have never done any cybersecurity, so I would not be the person to make it, but that would be cool. I'm sure it would be very helpful to a lot of people. Let's see, Ranch asks, when I know I'm ready to try to get my first front-end job. So Ranch, you should be able to ask yourself and answer this question. Can you build a CRUD application? Okay, that's a full stack app. That's an app that can do create, read, update, and delete. All right, that's how you know when you're ready to start applying for a front-end position. Now, you might be wondering, well, why do I have to build a full stack app that has a database and everything if I want to do front-end development? The reality is, as a front-end developer, it's going to be your responsibility to bind data from the back end and inject that into the UI. All right, so you have to have a working knowledge of how the APIs work and how the backend works, so you can work with those to connect it to the front end. All right, you don't have to be an expert in it, but build a few, full stack CRUD applications so you understand how APIs and things work. Okay, you'll need that as a front end developer. All right, we're going to do this for a few more minutes. Let's see, Caucasian, I'm bored of CRUD apps. It can get boring. I don't know how many apps you've built, but I've had a lot of fun building clone apps. Like I just finished building a Slack clone in React, and I used Mongo Express, and I used Node, all those texts for the backend, and I used Socket.io, which was really fun because then you have live listeners, so you could have two applications open at once, two different accounts that are signed in, and then you create a channel or write a message and it immediately appears in both applications. So that was a lot of fun to do a Slack clone and be able to use Socket.io for these real-time listeners on the server. Let's see, de-stress the stress. I like that, de-stress the stress. How long for you being a self-learner until you got your first job? I think it took me 10 months. And that was to get my first actual employment with a W-2. All right, now before that, after 12 weeks of coding, like 12 weeks experience under my belt, I got my first contract position. All right, it was a 3-month contract to build this this application for a company, and it was way over my head. But I just wanted it. I was willing to take whatever project. I was just taking the first person that said yes to me, And this project was way over my head. I only had 12, 13 weeks experience under my belt. And so they contracted me to build this project, and I subcontracted somebody else to help me build it because it was so over my head. I was so new and still so inexperienced with coding, but it was really nice because it put into perspective like where I stood as a web developer and gave me this real world experience about what type of things I should be focusing on as I continue my learning. But yeah, I started doing a bunch of freelance work after 13 weeks of coding, and then it was 10 months until I got my first job. And my starting salary, I'll just kind of throw out kind of a target number for you. My starting salary as my very, very, very first coding job ever, it was over $75,000 starting salary. All right, YouTube, let's check this out. All right, we're gonna stop here in just a little bit. Yeah, Keto says C# is now more for gaming, not for mobile. I would agree. So like using like Unity 3D, you know, they're doing everything in C#, and that's a really cool gaming platform to build on too. Let's see, what else do we have here? Let's see. No, I don't just know HTML and CSS. I know a little bit of JavaScript. Want to know whether I should learn HTML and CSS again if I have forgotten it. You should definitely brush up on it, right? Just know some of the basics, because everything you'll be doing in the future in web development is pretty much going to involve HTML and CSS at some degree. Now, once you've got those basics down, I would take all your focus and put it into JavaScript, because perfecting HTML and CSS, it just happens through the course of developing. It just happens. But don't focus on perfecting layouts or any of that stuff. Get a working knowledge of it, but then just start diving into JavaScript and start building interactive UIs. Let's see, Jamuna, I don't know anything about testing. Where do I start? Are you talking about unit tests? Maybe doing unit tests on your code. I personally started with Jest and Enzyme, or was it Mocha and Chai? It was one of the two. So you've got Mocha and Chai, and then you've got Jest and Enzyme. Somebody in here started with IntelliJ. I'm not sure which one is the best. I think I liked the syntax better for Jest and Enzyme. I thought it had a more friendly syntax to it. But I learned unit testing on the job, like when I was an engineer at Dell Computers. So I was just kind of like thrown into it and learned about it on the job. And I went to documentation. All right. So eventually, I think as a developer, as we're continuing to learn, you spend so much time watching videos, and that's great. But then once you really want to just like learn a technology or dive into something, it's all documentation, because you can find things a lot faster and more specific things and just read the docs instead of trying to scrub through a video. So that's how I learned, is I just went straight to the documentation. All right, Francie 445, does front-end development require design skills using like Photoshop or Figma or Sketch? It doesn't. No, it doesn't at all. However, here's an interesting thing. So I have previous experience doing UI and UX design. All right. And I will say, as a developer, those skills helped me a lot in doing the front-end development, only because, you know, I had experience with design and layout, and it helped me architect my HTML a lot better, or, you know, working in React, working in components, like what should be a component, what shouldn't. But you don't need design skills to do that. But I have worked, you know, with Photoshop, Figma, and Sketch. I primarily use Sketch a lot, but they're definitely not required. But I do see some things that are helpful for it. Hey, Dev Slopes, I want to know where I can find ideas to build projects, apps, software. So another fantastic question. You should, I don't know what tech stack you're doing, but I just recently did this, you know, because I always like to brush up on my skills and stuff. I did a search for, you can do a couple of searches. Just search for like beginner full stack React applications. And then you can also search for like advanced, projects for React or whatever. Just do a Google search on it. A lot of people have written blogs like 10 best, projects to build as a React developer, or like for learning and things like that. Just do a good Google search on it. Alex, opinion on associates in web dev while self-taught. Are you talking about an associate's like college degree? If that's what you're referring to, complete waste of money. Do not do a computer science degree. There's no reason to. You are going to learn 10 times slower and things that won't help you be successful in an actual real world job. Don't do it. Just do the self-taught. Now, on the flip side of doing self-taught, you can easily go down a rabbit hole doing self-taught because you don't have that kind of guidance or direction in a lot of cases. Like, what should I learn? What should I learn next? And sometimes it's hard to stay motivated, especially if you don't have a developer you can just ask a question to and just get an answer on something. All right. So that's what's so cool about the DevSlopes Academy is you have that mentorship, you have that coaching, you have somebody reviewing your code, you have somebody helping you through the whole career coaching process, helping you with job interviews, negotiating salaries, working with recruiters, your resume, your LinkedIn profile. So, DevSlopes, we go over the top. We do it from, A to Z. It's not just about learning how to code. There's an entire other end of the spectrum. And that's how do you make money? How do you make money learning to code, or with these coding skills that you've learned? We fill in that gap. And so we teach you how to, learn how to code, and we teach you how to make money, whether you want to do freelance or get a job. Okay. Go to devslopes.com/apply and, get hooked up with a free career coaching call. And then if you want to join the academy, I will work with you personally until you are successful and make money. All right. Oh my gosh. I keep saying like, oh, we're going to end it soon, but then I keep talking. That's because I'm passionate about coding, and people who are learning, like wanting to learn how to code, because I've been there, like I naturally want to help you. So Ranch, what to learn first? I think you're saying Bootstrap. Let's see, Bootstraps and Angular, or start learning backend. Let's see. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Bootstraps and Angular. So anyways, if you are learning Angular as a beginner developer, you have to understand that Angular has an incredibly steep learning curve. All right. So if you just learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, understand that Angular is done with TypeScript. Okay. It's a superset of JavaScript. And so the syntax is a lot different. You have to start thinking differently because you're declaring types. All right. And then Angular has a lot of Angular specific syntax. All right. Angular has a lot of opinions on the way it's structured, how your code is written, how the project architecture is done. All right. So there is a lot of structure and opinions and learning curve that goes into Angular. All right. If you were learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, if you did a transition into a front-end technology like React or, Vue, it's going to be 10 times easier. And then picking up Angular down the road is awesome. So yeah, that's what I would do. Oh my gosh, there's so many more questions here. I just got my first 100K salary job offer, but I've been freelancing this entire time. Zoa Fox, that is amazing. Congratulations. That's a testimony right there, that coding, can get you those 100K salaries. I would say it's very, very common that from being a beginner to having around 3 years professional experience in the industry, it is very, very, very common to hit 6 figures or more. And I always tell people, if you are not making 6 figures after 3 years of professional experience, you better be negotiating your salary, or you should be finding a new job, because there is people that will pay you 6 figures or more after 3 years experience in the job industry. It's very, very common. All right, I've I've got to wrap up here officially. I've got to get back to some coding. So let's see. Hey, Jason, where did you say you were moving to? Am I supposed to give out this information on the internet where I'm moving? I guess it doesn't matter. I'm kidding. I am moving near, I'm just going to say near-ish south of Houston, out in the country and closer to the beach. So I got myself a nice plot of land, and maybe I'll build a skate park. You know, I've got enough space to build a skate park, do some coding, maybe have some chickens. I don't know. I have a mullet. I like to skate and I like to code. You know, sky's the limit. So anyways, everybody, you're all awesome. Thank you so much for hopping on and joining. You all have a fantastic day. Get some coding in. I will see you the same time tomorrow. So as always, keep calm, stay positive, and code on. Adios.